Listen closely. Most people never live their own life. They live the life others expect. They stay small because they fear judgment, rejection, and opinions that don't even matter. But today, that ends. This audiobook teaches you the psychological shift that breaks you free from every voice holding you back. You will learn to detach from approval, reclaim your decisions, and step into a life driven by purpose, not by people. If you're ready to stop caring, truly stop caring, then let's begin. Chapter 1. Stop living for permission. You were trained to wait. You were taught to ask. You were conditioned to look up at someone, parent, teacher, society, and say, "Is this okay? Am I allowed?" And that conditioning didn't disappear when you became an adult. It stayed with you. It followed you. It shaped how you think, how you move, how you hold yourself back. You learned to seek permission before taking action, permission before dreaming, permission before becoming who you actually are. But listen carefully now. You are allowed, you always were. You just forgot. This chapter is about breaking the oldest habit you've carried into adulthood, the habit of waiting for someone to validate your choices before you live your life. And I'm telling you, right here, right now, it has cost you years. It has cost you dreams. It has cost you confidence. But once you see the pattern, you can break it. And once you break it, you don't go back. The conditioning begins early. As a child, you don't control anything. You're told when to sleep, when to eat, how to speak, what's polite, what's acceptable, what's good, what's bad. You're rewarded for obedience. You're punished for deviation. You learn that approval equals safety. You learn that disapproval equals danger. And because your brain is still forming, this connection becomes hardwired. You don't question it, you absorb it, you grow into it. So by the time you're an adult, your body is grown, your responsibilities are grown, your dreams are grown, but your internal permission system is still stuck at age 7. You still ask, what will people think? Will they approve? Will they judge me? Will they be disappointed? You don't even notice it happening. It's automatic. It's unconscious. It's habitual. But here's the truth. You're not that child anymore. You're not under someone's roof. You're not under someone's rules. Nobody owns your decisions anymore. But your mind still thinks they do. That's the problem. That's the trap. And that's what we break today. Real-world permission traps you don't notice. Let me give you a real example. You want to start a business, but you hesitate because, what if my friends don't take me seriously? What if my family doesn't support it? What if people laugh at me? So you delay, you stall, you wait for the right moment. But the truth is simple. You weren't waiting for the right moment. You were waiting for someone to tell you it's okay. You were waiting for permission. Or maybe you want to switch careers. You want to start a YouTube channel. You want to move to a new city. You want to leave a relationship. You want to change your lifestyle. But what do? You survey everyone around you. You gather opinions, even from people who've achieved nothing. You run your dreams through the filter of their fears. You let their insecurities shape your choices. Why? Because somewhere inside, a part of you still believes you need approval before you act. You don't. You never did. You never will. The mental shift. You must learn. Here is the shift you must make. Stop asking, "Is this okay?" and start declaring, "This is what I'm doing." One question keeps you trapped. One statement sets you free. You have a choice. You always have a choice. And that's the key, because every time you ask for permission, you reinforce the idea that other people know what's best for your life. But they don't. They can't. They won't. Nobody knows the truth inside you. Nobody knows the pull you feel. Nobody knows the fire in your chest when you imagine the life you want. Nobody knows the path that's calling your name. Only you do. So why would you let anyone else decide it? What you must start doing today. Here is your instruction. Clear, direct, simple. Stop informing people of your dreams before you take action. Silence the commentary. Silence the debates. Silence the crowd. Not because they are bad people, not because they wish you harm, but because they cannot see what you see. They can only see what they believe. And most people believe in limits, not possibilities. In safety, not growth. In comfort, not courage. If you tell them your plans too early, they will project their fear onto your future. And if you're still fragile, you will absorb that fear without even noticing. That's why successful people move quietly. They act before they explain. They commit before they announce. They step forward before asking who approves. You must do the same. Not eventually, not someday, now, because your life is not waiting for permission. It's moving with or without you, the emotional truth you need to face. Let's be brutally honest. Most people don't actually fear judgment. They fear losing belonging. They fear disappointing someone. They fear becoming the odd one out. But listen carefully. If fitting in requires shrinking yourself, if belonging requires pretending, if acceptance requires abandoning your potential, then that's not belonging. That's not connection. That's not support. That's emotional imprisonment. And the key to that prison is in your hand. Always has been. You don't need their permission. You don't need their validation. You don't need their reassurance. What you need is discipline. The discipline to choose your path. The discipline to follow it without applause. The discipline to believe in your own direction. It's not about fear. It's about discipline. It's not about approval. It's about ownership. Say it with me. I am allowed. Again. I am allowed. One more time. I am allowed. Because you are. You always were. Closing the chapter. Stop living for permission. Stop waiting for the perfect moment. Stop letting other people's opinions dictate the limits of your life. You choose the direction. You choose the pace. You choose the meaning. You are allowed. And the moment you truly understand that, you break free. Now that you've reclaimed your permission, it's time to understand the real price you've been paying for validation. Chapter 2. The silent cost of seeking validation. You don't even notice it happening. You think you're being polite. You think you're being thoughtful. You think you're being realistic. But underneath every hesitation, every pause, every second-guessing moment, there is one hidden habit running your life. The habit of seeking validation. And this habit, this quiet, subtle, socially accepted habit, is destroying your confidence, your energy, your momentum, and your potential. Not loudly, not publicly, not dramatically, but silently, slowly, steadily. This chapter is about exposing the hidden cost, the cost you've been paying for years without realizing it, the cost of needing people to approve your thoughts, your choices, your identity, your direction. Because when you depend on validation, you depend on permission. And when you depend on permission, you lose power. Every time. Validation is emotional currency. And you're spending yourself broke. Validation feels good. It's dopamine. It's comfort. It's psychological candy. But candy has a cost. It gives energy fast, and it drains you faster. When you rely on validation, you teach your mind one dangerous message. I can't trust myself unless someone else approves of me. That belief becomes your default operating system. You don't decide, you look around. You don't evaluate, you wait for reactions. You don't lead, you follow the emotional temperature of the room. And the worst part, you reward yourself for it. You reward yourself for shrinking. You reward yourself for pleasing. You reward yourself for being acceptable instead of being authentic. The cost? Confidence disappears. Independence weakens. Your identity becomes negotiable. That's the silent cost. You don't notice the damage until years have passed. How validation seeking steals your strength. Let's break it down clearly. When you seek validation, you train yourself to ignore your own voice. That's the key. That's the real wound. Every time you silence your own intuition to please someone else, you deepen the belief that you're not capable of making decisions. Every time you change your personality to fit in, you reinforce the idea that who you truly are isn't enough. Every time you ask, "Is this okay?" or "Will they like it?" you tell your brain, "Their opinion matters more than my direction." And whether you realize it or not, that programming begins to control everything. You choose jobs based on approval. You choose goals based on approval. You choose partners based on approval. You choose your entire life based on approval. Validation becomes your compass. But validation is a broken compass. It spins endlessly. It never points north. It never points to your truth. You cannot build a powerful life using a broken compass. The real-world example everyone knows too well. Let's talk about something simple: posting online. Think about how many people won't post a video, a picture, a thought, a project, not because the idea is bad, but because, what if nobody likes it? What if people judge it? What if someone says something negative? So they stay silent. They stay invisible. They stay safe. Not because they lack talent, but because they lack internal validation. Look at how many people want to start a business, but quit after a week because they didn't get praise. Look at how many people want to work out, but stop because nobody noticed. Look at how many people want to learn a new skill, but lose motivation because nobody clapped. These people aren't weak. They're not lazy. They're not unambitious. They're validation dependent. And a validation dependent mind cannot sustain long-term success. It collapses the moment applause stops. Because applause is not discipline. Approval is not commitment. Likes are not loyalty. You must build a life where the energy comes from within, not from who watches, who compliments, or who notices. There are only two ways to live. Option 1, you let other people's opinions decide your actions. You live reactively. You chase acceptance like oxygen. You collapse without praise. Option 2, you become self-sustaining. You create your own approval. You validate yourself through effort, discipline, and results. You act because it aligns with your purpose, not because someone clapped. You have a choice. You always have a choice. And choosing internal validation is choosing power. The emotional price tag of validation. Validation seeking looks harmless, but here's what it actually costs you. 1, it kills your confidence. If your confidence depends on praise, you don't have confidence. You have dependency. You're borrowing your self-worth from others, and debts like that come with interest. 2, it destroys your authenticity. You start modifying your personality like a mask. You hide your uniqueness. You avoid risks. You become who you think people want you to be, but a life built on pretending eventually collapses. 3, it stops your growth. Growth requires discomfort, but if you need validation, you'll avoid anything uncomfortable. You'll stay in the same patterns, the same routines, the same small version of yourself forever. These costs are silent. No alarms, no warnings. Just slow destruction, and you deserve better than that. The shift. Validation is not the reward. Consistency is. You must learn this principle. The reward is the effort, not the applause. You show up for yourself. You commit for yourself. You improve for yourself. You validate yourself through action, not approval. Through discipline, not attention. Through consistency, not compliments. You don't need their praise. You don't need their reassurance. You don't need their permission. You need discipline. And that's the lesson. It's not about confidence. It's about discipline. It's not about being liked. It's about being consistent. Say it again. Consistency over validation. Discipline over approval. Purpose over applause. How to break the habit starting today. Here are the steps, simple, clear, and non-negotiable. 1. Make one decision today without asking for anyone's input. Size doesn't matter. The action builds confidence. That's the key. 2. Stop announcing your goals before taking action. Move quietly. Act privately. Let your progress, not your insecurity, speak. 3. Build a small habit that nobody knows about. A private discipline, a private challenge, a private routine. Internal validation grows when nobody is watching. 4. Notice every time you seek praise and stop yourself. Catch the impulse. Interrupt it. Replace it with effort. These simple actions will reshape your psychology faster than you expect. Closing the chapter. Seeking validation is the fastest way to lose yourself. Internal validation is the fastest way to reclaim your power. When you stop needing applause, you become unstoppable. When you stop begging for approval, you become unbreakable. When you stop chasing validation, you finally start living. You paid the price long enough. Now it's time to take back the power you gave away. And once you do that, you unlock the next truth. The truth that will carry you through every challenge ahead. Chapter 3. You don't need to be liked to win. Let's get something straight immediately. Most people lose because they are trying too hard to be liked. They want approval more than progress. They want comfort more than growth. They want acceptance more than results. And that is why they never win. Winning requires courage. Winning requires direction. Winning requires discipline. But most importantly, winning requires the willingness to be disliked. This chapter is about breaking the psychological addiction to being liked. It's about understanding a truth that successful people figured out early. You cannot rise while trying to please everyone. Not in this world. Not in any world. So the sooner you accept that being disliked is part of the process, the sooner you become unstoppable. The tyranny of being liked, the desire to be liked, seems innocent. It seems harmless. It seems normal. But underneath it is fear. Fear of rejection, fear of judgment, fear of standing alone. You think you just want harmony. But what you really want is safety. You think you want to be nice. But what you really want is to avoid discomfort. You think you want people to accept you. But what you really want is to avoid the emotional work of owning who you really are. Being liked becomes a shield against isolation, a shield against criticism, a shield against responsibility. But here's the reality. That shield is keeping you small. It's keeping you silent. It's keeping you average. Because every time you choose being liked over being real, you abandon your identity. Every time you choose approval over authenticity, you weaken your power. Every time you choose comfort over truth, you lose a piece of yourself. That's the cost, and it's too expensive. Why the successful are often disliked. Let's talk about winners, not the loud ones, not the show-offs. I'm talking about the real ones, the disciplined ones, the relentless ones, the internally validated ones. People who rise above the crowd are almost always misunderstood. Why? Because they refuse to shrink. They refuse to conform. They refuse to be limited by other people's expectations. Think about the top performers, the creators, the entrepreneurs, the visionaries. Before anyone praised them, they were criticized. Before anyone celebrated them, they were doubted. Before anyone followed them, they were mocked. Not because they were wrong, but because they were different. Different scares people. Different threatens people. Different exposes people's own laziness, fear, and excuses. And so the easiest thing the world can do is dislike you, dismiss you, judge you, minimize you. But hear this clearly. Being disliked says nothing about your potential. But being afraid of being disliked says everything about your limitations. That's the key. Remember it. Real-world example. The cost of playing small. Let's picture a common situation. You have an idea, a direction, a project, a dream. You know it's right for you. You feel it, you see it, you want it. But then the doubts creep in. What will they say? Will they support me? Will they think I'm too ambitious? Will they think I'm trying to be better than them? Suddenly your dream becomes negotiable. Suddenly your truth becomes optional. Suddenly your ambition becomes something to hide. So what do? You shrink it, you water it down, you make it more acceptable, more normal, more likable, and in the process, you kill it. Not because the dream was weak, but because you valued being liked more than you valued being real. That is how most people lose their potential. Not through failure, but through fear of disapproval. You must choose likability or leadership. There are two kinds of people in this world, those who want to be liked, and those who want to lead. You cannot be both, not at the same time, not consistently, not honestly, because leadership requires making choices people won't understand. It requires setting boundaries people won't like. It requires prioritizing growth over comfort, progress over popularity, discipline over approval. You have a choice. You always have a choice. And this choice shapes your life more than any other. Will you live for applause or will you live for alignment? Make the right choice, because applause fades, but alignment builds empires. The psychology of not needing to be liked. Let's break this down practically. When you stop needing to be liked, 1, you become emotionally independent. Your mood stops depending on who complimented you. Your confidence stops depending on who clapped. Your direction stops depending on who approved too. You become more honest. You tell the truth, first to yourself, then to others. You stop living behind polite weaknesses. You stop shrinking your opinions. Honesty becomes clarity. Clarity becomes power. 3, you make better decisions. Decisions based on fear lead to regret. Decisions based on approval lead to resentment. Decisions based on purpose lead to growth. When you stop needing to be liked, you start making decisions that build you. The repetition that rewires you. Say it with me. Being liked is optional. Again, being liked is optional. One more time. Being liked is optional. Discipline is not optional. Purpose is not optional. Self-respect is not optional. You do not need everyone to like you. You don't even need most people to like you. You just need to like who you are becoming. That's the shift. That's the truth you embrace starting today. What you must start doing today. Here's your assignment. Direct, clear, and simple. 1, say one thing today that you've been afraid to say, a boundary, a truth, a decision. Say it calmly. Say it without apology. Say it without fear. 2, make one choice without considering how others will feel about it. Your life, your path, your rules. 3, let someone be disappointed and don't fix it. You are not responsible for managing other people's emotions. You are responsible for managing your direction. 4, assert your identity in one small way. Dress how you want. Speak how you want. Move how you want. Authenticity is built one choice at a time. Closing the chapter. You don't need to be liked to win. You need to be consistent. You need to be disciplined. You need to be aligned with your truth. Popularity is temporary. Purpose is permanent. Approval is shaky. Identity is powerful. You mastered the fear of being disliked. Now it's time to learn the next skill. The skill that will change the way you respond to everything in your life.